So, INSTEON went out of business in April of 2022. And at that time, everybody's hubs died. They were inaccessible. You couldn't access them through the app. You couldn't, any of the automations that were controlled by the hub stopped working. So I was a victim of that, just like so many other people. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm going through various different solutions and I'm evaluating them to see how they could be used for migrating, not only using our INSTEON devices, but also migrating to newer technology so that we can get off of INSTEON at some point. In today's video, I'm going to be evaluating the ISY 994 hub by Universal Devices. Now, that's a mouthful, but this is a really pretty cool device and it's been around a long time. There's some pros and cons to it. I'm going to explain that to you coming up. The ISY hub requires an INSTEON PLM, which you can see here. PLM stands for Power Link Modem, because INSTEON uses the power lines as well as radio signals to communicate with the devices in your home. Because INSTEON is a proprietary protocol, no third-party hub can talk to INSTEON devices directly. You'll always need a working INSTEON hub or PLM to communicate with your devices. They're prone to failure, but I'm told they can be easily repaired if necessary. I know there's videos on YouTube for that. I came up with a simple set of tests that I'll be using to evaluate various hubs to see if they support my goal of leveraging my INSTEON investment while allowing me to migrate to another technology over time. I'll be using a total of 9 devices in my testing. 6 are INSTEON and the other 3 are Z-Wave devices. I'll also be creating 5 scenes to show how the devices can be controlled together by a single action. Here's the list of 7 tests that I'll be executing. They represent the minimum functionality that I expect for a hub to be a suitable option for me. I'll also factor in the difficulty of setup and general usability in my final score at the end. The ISY is configured via a Java app on my computer. If you're a mobile-only household, you may have some challenges. One thing to note is that I'm using an older ISY device that was given to me by Smart Home several years ago. Universal Devices has a newer model called Policy that can do everything the ISY can do, plus it supports a lot more protocols than just INSTEON and Z-Wave. Test number 1 is the ability to configure and control the 9 devices in my scenario. Now this list looks huge because each device can have multiple items. The keypads, for example, have 8 buttons on the list, so the ISY lets me organize them into folders so they're easier to work with. Test number 2 is the ability to configure the devices into 5 scenes. You can identify the scenes by this icon that has little circles within the big circle. The kitchen scene is a simple example that includes the A button on the kitchen keypad and the B button on the island keypad. So for my first scene, this is my kitchen lights, and it goes on and off from here. See? On, off. That is controlled by this device, but I have a button on the other side. This one is known as the island keypad. Button B over here also works the kitchen lights. And similarly, this one works the island lights. And when the island is on, button B over here is on as well, and that controls them too. See? So these are INSTEON devices controlling INSTEON devices. The cabinet scene is a little more complicated. It has 3 INSTEON modules controlled by pressing the C button on either keypad. Now the more complicated option is, you can see, I've got 3 areas of under cabinet lights here. Well, if I push button C, it activates that scene that turns them all off, and similarly, turns them all on. So that's an important one for us as well. And that was done with 3 INSTEON devices. Test number 3 is the ability to control Z-Wave devices from an INSTEON device. To do that, I created a scene called Hall Lamp that includes a Z-Wave bulb and button H on both keypads. Now on here, button H is what I configured for my hall lamp. So when I click that, you see the hall lamp went on. Now the cool thing about this is that hall lamp is a Z-Wave bulb. And you can tell that it's not plugged in with any kind of a module. That's my Wi-Fi right there. This is just plugged into the wall. So this has constant power. It is a Z-Wave light bulb. And I have one upstairs as well. And if I click button G, this one will go on upstairs. Let's see if we could see it. Yep, see the light goes on upstairs. So those are my two Z-Wave bulbs being controlled by an INSTEON keypad. Test number 4 is the ability to control INSTEON from a Z-Wave device. To test that, I created a program that says when the status of button 2 on the wall moat is greater than 0, turn on the kitchen scene. Otherwise, turn it off. Now on the wall moat, I set a button number 1 so it turns on the hall lamp scene. On, off. So that was a Z-Wave device controlling a Z-Wave device. Now here I have button number 2 that controls my kitchen light scene. And this is a Z-Wave device controlling an INSTEON device. Test numbers 5 and 6 are the ability to have time-based and daylight-based schedules. I have it set so my cabinet lights go on from 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. So that's when this program runs. And you can see that little green light there. That indicates that the program is actually actively running right now. So at 7 a.m., if it's 7 a.m., then it sets cabinets, which is that scene that turns my cabinet lights on. So it turns all of them on. Else, it turns them off. So at 10:30, this will wake up again, and it will turn all the cabinets off. I've tested it. This works great. So this is purely an INSTEON-only scene. Now, I have another one here that I call dusk to 10:30. Now, dusk, for me, I set it at sunset minus 30 minutes. Okay, the sun sets in the back of my house, so I like it to go on a little bit sooner. And this is where I turn on both my hall lamp and my loft lamp. And then at 10:30 p.m. at night, I turn both of them off. That way, whether I'm home or not, it looks like the house is lived in. And last but not least, test number 7 is the ability to control my scenes using the Amazon Echo voice integration. Alexa, turn on the kitchen. Alexa, turn on the island. Well, they work great. Watch the button. Alexa, turn on the hall lamp. Beautiful. By default, the ISY device is a local device on your home network. It doesn't use the internet for anything, and there's no servers at Universal Devices that you are dependent on. But if you want to use the voice control, that is an integration that you have to enable. So I came into the configuration tab, and under here there's another tab called portals, and I actually had to set it up so that I registered my device with their server, and in their server I have the UID of my device. And then in here you can go to the connectivity tab, select that, and I do Amazon Echo. And here you can see this is the list of my scenes and what I can say, the words that I can say to her to activate each one of those scenes. Now, I just happen to call them the same thing, but you can say anything you want in whatever language you want. And that's how that was accomplished. So you can see the ISY passed all of my tests, so it's definitely a good contender that allows me to operate my INSTEON devices as I slowly move towards Z-Wave. All right, so here's my report card for the ISY device. For functionality, I gave it a 10 because all of the tests passed with flying colors, worked fine. For ease of use, I'm going to give it an 8. It's not as easy to use as the INSTEON hub, but it has more functionality. And complex logic is available, but it can be confusing for people who aren't used to programming. For the technology, I'm going to give it a 7. The Java admin console is dated, but it works, and you don't use it that often. For the company, I'm giving it a 5. It's a small private company. They have very few products, and I'm sorry, but the future is kind of uncertain. I never expected INSTEON to go out of business, so I don't know how long this company will last. For cost, I'm going to give it a 5. It's not cheap. The hub itself could go for about $400, but you got to plan on spending at least another $300 if you want to get a used PLM on eBay. So overall, that's 35 out of 50 points, or 70%. If you have an ISY device, do you agree with my scoring? Leave a comment and let me know. And if you don't have an ISY device, leave me a comment with your thoughts. What do you think? And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. If you are a DIY video creator struggling to find an audience, join HandyDadTV and get instant access to an established audience that will provide more views and income than you're getting on your own. Just go to HandyDad.tv/join for more information.